guys, bersama saya lagi dalam ORAITNOPO channel. Terkini sahabat-sahabat semua ya, ucapan Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim dalam program World Conference on Islamic Thought. Jadi apakah ya mesej dan juga ucapan intipati, ucapan Perdana Menteri kita? Ya, ini yang menarik untuk saya bawakan bersama dengan anda sahabat-sahabat semua. Jadi tanpa membuang masa, ayo kita tonton dan juga lihat, dengar ucapan daripada Perdana Menteri kita.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahillazi anzala ala abdihi alkitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. Wa usalli wa sallim ala rasulihil karim wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Menghadap Bahduli Yang Maha Mulia Sri Sultan Perak Darul Ridwan Sultan Nazrin Muizzuddin Shah. Ampun Tuanku, satu penghormatan besar untuk bersama-sama meraihkan kehadiran Tuanku yang menjadi pendorong utama dalam majlis wacana segar seperti ini, dan izinkan Patik meneruskan untuk menyampaikan pandangan kepada rakan-rakan. Timbalan Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Diraja Zahid Hamidi, Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Syarani, Ahli Majlis Mesyuarat Kerajaan Negeri, tamu-tamu yang muliakan, Pro Chancellor, Naib Chancellor dan keluarga Universiti Sultan Azlan Shah, saudara-saudara yang dimuliakan. Alhamdulillah kita dapat bersama-sama, dan saya tentunya mendukung ikhtiar yang dimulakan sekian lama meneruskan wacana segar, bicara permasalahan Islam, umat, kebudayaan, tamadun, dan boleh diserasikan dengan tuntutan semasa dalam masyarakat pelbagai kaum, pelbagai agama, dan dunia yang begitu rencam. We cannot survive and succeed without a reasoned discourse. We are living in a world termed as post-normal times, where there is chaos, contradictions and complexity, where there is deficit in moral values, in fact abandonment of moral principles, where politics believe in post-truth principles and devoid of ethical values, where the economy can be propelled with unbridled capitalism without care and concern for the environment or the welfare of the majority marginalized poor, urban poor, rural or in rural heartland. We're living in a society where families have quite disintegrated. So the conference, of course, to me, is timely. Not to clamor about change by reflecting on the experience of the past, to effect change in a meaningful manner, in a practical manner. I don't need to deliberate further on the issues of complexities and the unprincipled attempt by both in the political arena, on the economic and the cultural sphere, where we have lost humanity. Gaza is, of course, a classic example, where in the name of democracy, you can allow and condone total chaos, oppression of the worst kind known to mankind in recent times. So there's a challenge, therefore, to offer a viable, meaningful, effective alternative, and not to be in despair. So that is therefore something that we need to not only engage but strongly support. And I, of course, encourage with the presence of luminaries like Pak Yusuf Kala, who has been consistent and determined in promoting understanding and peace, even in more troublesome Muslim minority areas. My old colleague George Yeo, you remember George, we involved decades ago while trying to dismantle this concept of clash of civilization promoted strongly by Samuel Huntington. We were there to promote feast of civilizations. Civilizations can be a feast and not necessarily to be used to promote enmity, discord, and chaos. And this reminds me of the classic work, a very small, short article by the Arab Palestinian scholar Edward Said on the clash of ignorance. It's a very effective way of debunking, or should I say, devastating critique of that notion of clash of civilizations by Edward Said in his article, I think in the Atlantic, Clash of Ignorance. The problem that we confront in this world is complete ignorance. We assume that we know, but we don't. We try and attempt to deliberate most issues, engage in discourses out of prejudice, not out of empathy. The West, post-colonial period, must still retain the old precepts of the other, and therefore the misunderstanding, misinformation, and rejection of the other, what we term now Islamophobia. And we need to be blamed too when we talk about civilization. That's why I commend this university for trying to engage with all the others. How do you then survive and live in a society like a multiracial, multi-religious country in Malaysia and avoid discussing other religions, other cultures, other civilizations? And then demanding that the West must understand us. So I think it is an engagement that is required by us to get others to understand us and for us to understand them. That is why we have encouraged, other than conferences such as this, dialogue of civilization, Islam and Confucianism, because it's very relevant, not only in Malaysia, but in this region. Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib, talking about knowledge and learning and scholarship as lazzatul ma'rifah. There's a love for scholarship. You yearn to get the best, to understand and appreciate. As much as we have understood the injunction of the Quran, using, in terms of epistemology, a very relevant, pertinent terminology, not just tolerance, but lita'arafu. Ya ayuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha waja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu. It's not tolerance. It's learning from one another, it's understanding one another, it's appreciating the differences. Because the differences in terms of race or tribe or color is not of our own volition, but what was ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my contention is that we must have the courage and conviction to continue discourse, in the spirit of lazzatul ma'rifah, to understand and appreciate and realize that this is a requirement to achieve not only peace and prosperity or even sustainability through reasoned discourse. T.S. Eliot, summarizing somewhat the same message. Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information? Now, Ali bin Abi Talib differentiate between information, knowledge, and ma'rifah. We have this mushrooming of information. We have a problem now in the government trying to introduce some restrictions, not necessarily popular, because those who believe in unbridled freedom means we have every right to express our views, regardless of the impact to the society. Even ignoring the fact that girls decided or forced, compelled to commit suicide because of this sort of harassment. So the challenge is therefore to place order and not unbridled freedom or capitalism, but to place values above the expression of individual freedom at the expense of peace and welfare of the society. May the conference live up to that spirit of lita'arafu and lazzatul ma'rifah. And I, without the need to apologize, no apologies, would also recommend to strongly address the issue of governance. Now, I must state that our chief guest, Your Highness, has impeccable academic credentials. So I don't welcome him just as a sultan or the desk lieutenant, but more so because rarely do you have, Your Highness, someone with your impeccable academic credentials addressing the audience. I think because of this, that what you have to say and advise is very, very pertinent and relevant indeed. That our country, as in most Muslim societies, require this message of understanding, of wisdom, beyond just tolerance, to understand that what we lack, what we have lost in our societies today is the meaning of justice, deficit in values, deficit in the values, therefore poor governance, and lack of compassion. We decide what is right, what is wrong, what is just, what is not. Whether we have empathy to the plight of the poor based on interests, values, or parties, not on the principles of justice and humanity. And if you understand the Islamic message, the khair ummah that we heard, it is beyond race and creed. May Allah give us strength. In front of Your Highness, I've decided to shorten my speech because we are here to look forward to his address. And I must reiterate this point without exaggeration, that we are blessed, Your Highness, with your presence and your wisdom. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terbaik sahabat semua, itu dia ucapan daripada Perdana Menteri ya dalam program yang ke-7 World Conference on Islamic Thought and Civilisation untuk tahun 2024 ini. Ya, satu mesej yang padu, satu mesej yang terbaik ya daripada Perdana Menteri kita, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Jadi sahabat semua, Mungkin luaran-luaran tu tidak faham lah ya, sebab dia bercampur dengan bahasa Inggeris. Tapi saya percaya untuk yang memahaminya tu, mungkin anda dapat menangkap mesej yang disampaikan ya oleh Perdana Menteri kita. Jadi sampai di sini saja sahabat semua. Sekiranya anda mau berikan sebarang komen, pandangan, anda boleh berikan di dalam ruangan komen. Tapi ingat, komen dengan cara berhemah. Terima kasih. Izinkan saya untuk mengundurkan diri, dan seperti biasa, peribahasa mengatakan tak apapun kangkap, 2 tahun keinginan. Dalam bahasa Melayu, tepuk dada, tanya selera. Sekian saja daripada ORAITNOPO Channel. Saya kita berjumpa lagi. Bye-bye.